What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another WNBA video. We have ourselves a 5-game slate to dive into for Friday, August 15th. So we're going to break down and analyze each of those games. We're going to talk about which way that I'm leaning as far as the points and the spread. We'll also go over a few player props that I found in those games that I like. And when it's all said and done, don't forget to check right down there into that pinned comment. You'll find a link down there that's going to send you over to the Guy Boston Sports website. That's where you're going to find all of my final plays for these games listed for free. Now, before we dive into these games, let's go ahead and jump right there over to the website. We got to take a look back at Wednesday. Let's see what picks we put in then and how that all ended up going down. We did end up putting 5 plays in on Wednesday, and we go 2 and 3 on the night. We took the Storm on the money line at plus money, and we don't cash, man. They lose that one by 10. Took that total in that game as well, over 160 and a half. They land at 160, so we don't hit there either. And we took Ryan Howard over 11 and a half points. She cashes that one with ease for us. And the same thing with the Sky and the Sun, a total under 159 and a half. That one was never a sweat. Took Sonia Citron over 1.5 3-pointers made. She lands at 1, so we lose that one on the hook as well. So it's a 2 and 3 night, but that Sonia Citron play was a quarter unit play at least, so we don't lose much on the night. I think it was like 0.08 units overall that we lost on the night. So nothing crazy there, not going to hurt us in the long run. But we definitely look to bounce back and have ourselves a better Friday here with this 5-game slate, guys. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's see what value we can find on the board today. Smash that like button down there for me if you can. Hit subscribe if you have not already. Let's jump into the mix, man. 7:30 p.m. tip-off time for our first game. Going to be the Golden State Valkyries, Chicago Sky. Valkyries are 6.5-point favorites now. That opened up at 4.5. Total sitting at 150.5. It's going to be the third and final match of the year between these two here. And so far, the Valkyries have won each of the first two, covering in their last meeting as well. Golden State does come into this one winners of 3 straight, 6 of their last 8. The Sky, they've lost 3 straight, and they've also lost 11 of their last 12. The Valkyries sit at 17 and 15 on the year. That is 7th in the WNBA standings and a half game back from 6th in their very first season, man. Very impressive, and also impressive that they are 20 and 12 to the number this year as well. They are just 7 and 10 straight up on the road, 9 and 8 against the spread. Sky, they have gone 8 and 24 on the year, 13 and 19 to the number, and they are just 5 and 11 both straight up and against the spread when playing at home. Now, Reese continues to be, with no timetable for a return here, even after being called day to day more than a week ago now. I'm just starting to think that she may not return at all this year. And honestly, if so, it'll be for a few games at the tail end of the season. So I don't know, man. It's the second straight year now where it just feels like Chicago's throwing the towel in with 75% of the way through the year, if not even earlier. You know what I mean? Reese has been out for a minute now and just feels like they've been tanking ever since. Golden State, they're without Kayla Thornton, obviously, and then Monique Billins remains out as well for the Valkyries. It just feels like a horrible matchup for Chicago, man. They're scoring the highest percentage of points from 2-point range and from inside the paint across the league over their last 5, and that's been their identity on the offensive end for much of the season. They're shooting just under 33% from deep this year. That's 10th in the W, just 29% in their last 5 games. That is second worst in the league. And that's, how you've had to beat this Valkyries team so far on the year, man. This defense, it's been really good. They have been shaky on the perimeter. They're giving up the third most three-pointers on the year. But they have tightened up there even as well as of late. In the last 5, Golden State is sitting at 6 for three-pointers allowed. They're holding opponents to just 28% shooting from beyond the arc. That is third lowest in the W. Chicago is hitting the 5th most shots from inside the restricted area, but they sit at dead last for shooting percentage from this zone. They are hitting just the 7th most points from the paint over their last 5. Golden State's giving up the fewest makes from inside the restricted area and allowing the fewest points from inside the paint. Chicago has been decent defensively, though. They are sitting at 6th in defensive rating over their last 5, but they are dead last for offensive rating in that time. They have a net rating of just negative 14.3. That's also last in the W. The Valkyries are coming in at 6th offensively, 4th defensively. They are plus 1.4 for a net rating good for 6th. Honestly, too, much has been made. We just talked about it, right? How the Valkyries play on the road. Much has been made of how they have played better at home this year. By myself included. Like I said, we were just talking about it, right? But looking at things as of late, Golden State has gone 4 and 2, both straight up and against the spread over their last 6 road games. Chicago, meanwhile, man, 1 and 5 straight up and against the spread over their last 6 at home. So give me the Valkyries in this spot, man. I wish I would have caught it at that 4.5. That line keeps moving up. This may be one that we use that FanDuel always wants to put out boost on Fridays. 25% boost for the WNBA, and then there's also always a 25% anytime boost, it seems like, on Fridays as well. So maybe one that we use here to get that line back down where we want it. as it just continues to move in the Valkyries' favor. But I definitely agree with the market, man. I would be leaning with the Valkyries here before I would even take a look at Chicago. For the total, 150 feels low with these two even, man. You know what I mean? Um, can't expect a high scoring game with either of these teams on the court, but 150 still feels low. We've seen 6 straight unders for Chicago, and then 7 of the Valkyries' last 10 have hit under as well. They just got up and over the number by only 3 points in their first head to head, and then they hit to the under in their second matchup. But, Chicago, man, they're not doing a lot great, but they do give up the second fewest three-pointers per game, which is what we see Golden State, generate the majority of their points from. They sit first for percentage of points scored from three-point range. We already spoke as well about how this Valkyries defense can shut down Chicago's inside attack. Now I get the low number, man, and I would look towards an under still. You know what I mean? It is like I said, it's super low, but that's the way that I would be looking. It's tempting to play even. I just hate playing these totals when they get down this low, man. Just like I hate playing overs when they get up into that 170 range and higher, man. But yeah, it'd be an under lean for me and be a lean on the side for the Valkyries looking at this game here. The next up, 7:30 p.m. tip-off time as well. Los Angeles Sparks, Dallas Wings. Sparks are 4.5 point favorites in this one. Total sitting at 177.5. Just talking about a really low total. Here we got a really high one, man. It's the first of two in a row on the road for LA, who has lost 2 of their last 3 after going on a heater. But they do still sit at 15-17 on the year. That is ninth in the W and just a half game back of that eighth and final playoff spot. They've gone 9-7 when on the road this year, 10-5-1 against the spread when away. They have covered in 7 of their last 10 games. The Wings, they're 9-24 in the year, 16-17 against the spread, and they have gone 5-12 at home, 8-9 to the number. It's going to be the second head-to-head between these two this year, with the Sparks taking the first match in Dallas by 14 back in early June. The Wings, they are coming into this one off of a 1 point road win over the Fever their last time out. They have covered in 5 of their last 7. They've lost 7 of their last 10 outright, however. Now, LA, man, they were scorching hot offensively, and they've started to cool off to some degree. Looking at them over their last 3 games, they're sitting at fifth for points per game with just over 83 points per. They're shooting 44% from the field. That's good for sixth in the league. They are still hitting the second most threes per game at 10 a game. And you look at the Wings in their last 3, man, just 78 points per game. That's ninth in the W, shooting just under 40% from the field, 27% from three. Both of those are last across the league. Dallas is also allowing the third highest shooting percentage from the field, the third most made threes, and the highest shooting percentage from deep. With that said, man, keep in mind LA hasn't stood in the way of anyone putting up points, man. They're dead last for field goal percentage allowed over their last 3, second worst for three-point shooting percentage given up, and they're allowing the second most threes a game as well. But nonetheless, man, the Sparks feel like they have just, too much here for this Dallas team. There's just too much talent on that side of the ball. I don't trust either of these coaches, but I do trust the amount of talent on the Sparks side over that of the Wings. They're playing for their playoff lives while Dallas is playing for nothing. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. With the veterans on the Sparks side, former champions in Plum and Hamby, I think the Sparks can get the job done here. I like them here. I would be leaning with the Sparks in this one. For the total, the Wings have hit under in 4 of their last 5, but they could see some more points on the board in this one here. Should have some trouble, man, slowing down that LA offensive attack as well. The Sparks have hit to the over in 22 of the 32 games that they played this year, hitting to the over in just under 70% of their games. 12 of their last 14 have gone over as well. With 2 bottom 5 defenses here, man, the Sparks sitting at fifth for pace, the Wings sitting at first. It's hard not to look to the over, man, right? But yeah, with that number where it's sitting at, man, it's a little too high for me to want to take seriously, as far as playing it. But yeah, definitely be a lean towards the over for me in this one. And next up, another 7:30 p.m. tip-off time. Washington Mystics taking on the Indiana Fever. Fever are 8.5 point favorites in this one. Total sitting at 161.5. Shakira Austin has missed the last 2 for Washington. She's going to be out for this one as well, still experiencing some soreness in her leg. JC Sheldon is also going to be out for the Mystics in this one. Now we're looking at the Fever, obviously still without Caitlin Clark. Was listed as a game time decision the other day. And then Coach White comes out and says that she hasn't practiced at all with the team anytime recently. So, yeah, just more conflicting injury reports as per usual here in the WNBA this season. But it's going to be the last game of this 3-game homestand for the Fever. They'll have a 1-day rest advantage here as well over the Mystics. Now, Washington is coming in off of a close 5-point loss to the Valkyries their last time out. That was a game that saw them erase a 25-point deficit to get back into that one in the closing minutes. But ultimately, As has been the case much of the season, it was just simply too late, man. The Mystics have come from behind to make a ton of games interesting, late in the games, but they just failed to close out the majority of them. And, that's to be expected when led by so many young players, you know what I mean? Now, the Fever are also coming in off of a loss. They have now lost and failed to cover in 3 of their last 4. They're sitting at 18 and 15 on the year, 17 and 16 to the number, and they've gone 10 and 7 both straight up and against the spread when playing at home. The Mystics are 14 and 18 overall. They're 15 and 17 to the number. They've gone 5 and 11 on the road, 8 and 8 against the spread. This is going to be the third match between these two this season, with the home team taking each of the first 2 games so far. The Mystics by 6 in Washington, and then the Fever by 9 in Indiana. The Fever, though, they were crushed on the glass in each of those games, man, being out-rebounded 74 to 52 combined in both of those games. They were able to hold Washington to just 10% shooting from deep in that second game, though. They withstood that inside attack, man. They knocked down 11 threes on just under 40% shooting themselves from beyond the arc. Now, the Fever are giving up the most points from the paint over their last 5. The Mystics sit at third for points scored from inside. The Fever are also giving up the 4th most second chance points, while the Mystics are giving up the fewest. Washington has hit the 3rd most shots from inside that restricted area and at the 5th highest shooting percentage on the year. The Fever are giving up the 2nd most field goals from that zone over their last 5. Now, where the Fever could hurt the Mystics is defensively. If they can start forcing some turnovers, they sit middle of the pack at 6 for turnovers, forcing their last 5, while the Mystics are giving it up at the highest rate across the W. They're allowing the most points off of these turnovers as well, but the Mystics have been putting up the 5th fewest points off of turnovers in their last 5. You look at the Mystics, man, they're first in that regard, forcing the most turnovers per game as well, and the Fever are just 8th for turnovers per game themselves, allowing the 3rd most points scored off of turnovers. So, all in all, man, just think this is a little too many points here, and I'd lean with the Mystics, although they have had their struggles on the road, so we got to keep that in mind here. But at 8.5, man, I'm having a hard time laying that many points with the Fever. I like them here in this game. I like them end of the day to win this one outright. But no, man, we've seen the Mystics crawl back into too many games. The Fever have just been a little too shaky for me lately here to want to back them to win this one by 9 points. So I'm going to lean with Washington taking the points on this one. For the total, man, it's a higher line for a Mystics game, right? But it feels like a little bit of a lower line for a Fever's game. I think we see some pace here in this one with the amount of turnovers that we've seen from each side. And we also have the Fever sitting at 4th for fast break points in their last 5. Both of these teams struggled defending in transition as well. Washington has been playing faster on the road over their last 5 games, also sitting at 4th for pace. The Fever sit at 4th for pace overall on the year. So I would look at it over looking at this game. The next up going to be a 10 p.m. tip-off time. Las Vegas Aces taking on the Phoenix Mercury. Mercury are 4.5-point favorites in this one. Total sitting at 167.5. I'm not sure about this one, man. I'm not sure what the books have seen recently with these Mercury that I haven't, but man, oh man, they really seem to like this Phoenix team. I'll say that. 4-point favorites over a Vegas team that's won 5 in a row, 7 of their last 8. I guess the books are expecting a letdown here for the Aces. I don't know, man. The Mercury have won 3 of their last 4, but they do come in off of a loss to Atlanta where they couldn't get more than 16 points in 3 of those 4 quarters of play. No more than 19 in any quarter. They scored just 66 points. Atlanta does have a really good defense. Let's not get it twisted. But the Mercury, they sit at just 7th for offensive rating over their last 5, while the Aces come in at 2nd. Defensively, we see Vegas at 5th, and the Mercury are at 2nd. But that's inflated some when you consider that 2 of those 5 games came against the lifeless Connecticut and Chicago offenses, who put up just 66 and 67 points in those games. And then they also played a game against the Fever in which, Indiana just went ice cold, couldn't hit anything. They scored only 60 points on 34% shooting, 23% shooting from deep. Phoenix was playing well defensively at the beginning of the year, and I do think it's a serviceable unit for sure. I'm not saying that this is a bad defense, but despite the recent 5 game numbers, man, I'm not looking at them like they're the second best defense in the WNBA. They do have a sizable 3-day rest advantage over the Aces, so maybe, the defensive rating, how the defenses looked as of late, paired with that rest advantage, maybe that's where the books are getting at here with this number. But like I said, man, I'm not seeing it. It's the third head-to-head this year between these two. The road team has taken each of the matches so far, and they've been close. It was a 6-point win for the Mercury, but keep in mind, man, that was a game that the Aces played without Asia Wilson. And then Vegas took the rematch with both teams fully healthy. That was a 3-point win in Phoenix. Now, these two, they've been the top 2 rebounding teams, with the Mercury sitting at 2nd for offensive and total rebounds per game. The Aces are leading the league in both regards. Aces are giving up the 5th fewest offensive rebounds, however, while the Mercury are giving up the 2nd most. I just can't get there with the Mercury. I'm not laying points with them until they show me against the better teams of the W, not just the Skies and the Suns of the league. So give me Vegas with the points here. And for the total, I like a slower pace game here, honestly, man. Phoenix wants to get out on the break, sure. But the Aces do a good job defending and transition. And that's what they're going to have to do to slow this Phoenix team down. Both these defenses are playing well enough. They've hit 2 under so far in the prior head-to-head, so I'd look for a third under here. Aces have hit to the under in 2 straight on the road. Mercury have hit under 4 times in a row, so I'll lean under looking at this game. And then our last game, another 10 p.m. tip-off time, Seattle Storm taking on the Atlanta Dream, which is just kind of strange. This one is in Atlanta, tipping off at 10 p.m. Eastern time. I'm not sure about that one. Kind of seems like an advantage for the Storm in this one, and they're gonna need it. They're gonna need it. Dream are 2.5-point favorites in this one. Total sitting at 160.5. Like I said, man, Storm gonna need all the help they can get. Full transparency here, man. I'm done with the Seattle team. I've backed them multiple times to break out of this funk that they're on, man. And they come out and they drop a game to Atlanta by 10 points. So, man, I can't get there with Seattle. The Dream have made me a good bit of money this season, to be real, too, man. That's my payback for going against them. I knew better. I knew better. Not again, not here. And honestly, man, I can't see a way to getting there with the Storm team with them just about up against anyone right now in this league. You know what I mean? You know, maybe against the Sky, maybe against the Wings, or one of these lower tier teams. But you face them off against any of these teams in the playoff race, man, and it does not look good for Seattle. There's no rhythm on offense for too long of stretches, man. Despite having some of the best defenders in the game across their roster, getting stops has been like watching them try to stop a tornado with like their bare hands or something, man. It's just miserable. They can't stop anything. Seattle has lost 6 in a row, 8 of their last 10. Atlanta has won 6 in a row and 8 of their last 10. The Dream sit at 4th for offensive rating, 1st for defensive rating, and they are 2nd overall for net rating in the last 5, while the Storm sit at 8th offensively, 11th defensively, 9th for net rating at negative 6.2. The Dream are plus 20.1, just zero point 0.3 below the first place link. So Atlanta playing great basketball, man. They look tough. It's tough to think about trying to fade them here in this spot, man. The Storm, they're just a complete mess. They have no cohesion as a whole. The coaching is just dreadful over there as well, man. I'm not back in Seattle. I'm not fading the Dream, so it's an Atlanta lean by default looking at this game. Now for the total, the over hit in the first 2 head-to-heads between these two, and then we landed just under the line on the hook this last time out. Now, I like an over again here, man. The pace has been fast in each of these 3 matchups so far, so I would expect the same with them running it back here. I'm gonna lean over looking at this game. We got a couple player props. We're going to jump right over there to Outlier to check out. Let's go ahead and do just that. The first play I'm going to be looking at, Rakia Jackson of the Sparks are 3-pointers over 1.5, sitting at minus 132 on FanDuel right now. Now, if you look over here, the Wings are just dreadful on their 3-point defense, man, sitting at 10th as far as 3-pointers allowed. Against that forward position, it gets worse, sitting at 11th. And we look at Rakia Jackson on the year, only hitting this at a 44% rate, 12 out of 27 games, right? But look at her in her last 5, 100% hit rate, averaging 2.4 threes a game, and in her last 10, averaging 2 a game as well, hitting at a 70% rate. So we couple her shooting and we look at her, right, shooting 37% in her last 10 games from downtown. Look at her over her last 5. We see that she's shooting 40%. We couple that in with that dreadful Dallas defense, like I said. So yeah, that's going to be Rakia Jackson over 1.5 3-pointers, minus 132. And also like Brittany Sykes of the Storm, her points and rebounds under 18.5, super juiced over there at ESPN, minus 150. We look at her in her last 10, though, hitting under this mark at a 70% rate, hitting well under it, right? 18.5, averaging 14.2. And looking at the last 5, hitting at an 80% rate as well. Look at Atlanta as far as their defense is concerned, against that guard position, sitting at 2nd for points allowed, 3rd for rebounds allowed. So we love to see that. And we look at this insight from Outlier, we can see that Brittany Sykes has failed to exceed this mark in 5 straight games when playing against top 5 defenses, 4 points allowed, actually averaging just 9.6 points and rebounds a game in those 5 games. So definitely like to see that. Like I said, super juice, but I like this one quite a bit. Brittany Sykes for points and rebounds under 18.5. That is going to wrap us up for the day, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. I hope you found the content helpful and useful. If you did, please don't forget to smash that like button on your way out. Hit subscribe if you have not already. That's going to do it, man. Hope you all have a great night. Hope you all cash out. And I'm going to see you back for the next one.